Imagine a place of silent sentinels. The sun beats down on golden cliffs that hide the secrets of kings. This is the Valley of the Kings, a royal cemetery carved into the heart of the Theban mountains. For nearly 500 years, from the 16th to the 11th century BC, this was the final resting place for the pharaohs and powerful nobles of the New Kingdom. It is a place of incredible history and unparalleled beauty. The ancient Egyptians called it the great and majestic necropolis of the millions of years of the pharaoh life, strength, health in the west of Thebes. Its modern name is simpler, but the majesty remains untouched by time. I have spent many years of my life walking through this sacred valley. I have felt the dry heat on my skin and the cool air inside the tombs. Each tomb is a gateway to the past, a time capsule filled with art and knowledge. The walls are covered in vibrant paintings and mysterious hieroglyphs. They tell stories of gods and goddesses, of the journey to the afterlife, and of the power of the pharaohs who built these eternal homes. This valley is not just a collection of graves, it is a library of our civilization. It holds the key to understanding who we were and what we believed. But the Valley of the Kings is also a place of whispers and shadows. For every story of historical discovery, there is another tale of something far more sinister. People speak of curses that protect the dead. They imagine intricate traps designed to stop anyone who dares to disturb the pharaoh's sleep. These stories have traveled all over the world. They have been told in newspapers, in books, and in movies. They paint a picture of a place filled with dark magic and ancient vengeance. The valley becomes a stage for thrilling adventures, but the truth of its history is often lost. These legends are powerful. They capture the imagination and create a sense of mystery and danger. But as an archaeologist, my job is not to chase shadows. My work is to find the light of truth. We must look at the evidence. We must listen to what the stones, the artifacts, and the ancient texts tell us. This essay will separate the whispers from the facts. We will explore the famous stories of curses and traps. Then we will look at the scientific and historical evidence to see what is real. We will walk into the valley, not with fear, but with respect and a desire for knowledge. The most famous story is, of course, the curse of Tutankhamun. When Howard Carter and Lord Carnarvon opened the Boy King's tomb in 1922, the world was mesmerized. A discovery beyond anyone's wildest dreams, a nearly intact royal burial. But soon stories began to circulate. A curse was said to be written on a clay tablet found inside the tomb. The inscription supposedly warned, "Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king." Soon after, Lord Carnarvon died from an infected mosquito bite. His death was seen as the first strike of the pharaoh's revenge. The story grew with each retelling. Newspapers around the globe reported on the curse. They linked any subsequent death of someone connected to the excavation to the pharaoh's wrath. A visitor to the tomb who died years later, a radiologist who X-rayed the mummy, even a relative of an expedition member. The idea of an ancient power reaching out from the grave was irresistible. It created a legend that has lasted for a century, often overshadowing the scientific importance of the find. People remember the curse more than the treasures, but Tutankhamun's is not the only tomb with such stories. Legends of traps are equally common. Hidden pits that open beneath your feet, giant rolling stones that seal corridors, doorways that release poison gas when opened. These images come from adventure films and novels. They paint Egyptian architects as designers of lethal machines. In the tales, pharaohs were not just buried with treasure, they were protected by ingenious security systems meant to guard wealth for eternity. So we must ask, did the ancient Egyptians really place curses on their tombs? Did they build these elaborate, deadly traps? Where did these stories come from? Are they based on real inscriptions and archaeological findings, or are they modern inventions? To answer this, we cannot rely on rumor or Hollywood. We must go to the source, examine the excavation reports, study the tombs themselves, use the tools of science and history to uncover the reality behind the myth. This is the only way to honor the people who built and were buried in this magnificent valley. My promise as an archaeologist who has dedicated his life to Egypt's heritage is to guide you with evidence. The real story of the Valley of the Kings is more fascinating than any curse. It is a story of human ingenuity, belief, art, and even human weakness. To understand it, we must use the methods of modern archaeology. This is a science of careful observation and documentation. It begins with stratigraphy, the study of layers of earth and debris. Each layer tells a story about a different period in time, helping us understand what happened at a site and when. When we find a tomb, our work is not a treasure hunt. It is a slow, meticulous process. Every single object, from a golden coffin to a tiny pottery shard, is a piece of a puzzle. We record exactly where each item is found. We photograph it, we draw it, and we give it a unique number. This information is entered into a catalogue. This process helps us reconstruct the tomb as it was left thousands of years ago. It allows us to see if the tomb was disturbed in antiquity, a common occurrence, or if it was sealed until modern times. This careful work is the foundation of all real knowledge. After the fieldwork is done, the artifacts are taken to the laboratory. Here, we can learn even more. We use science to analyze the materials. Radiocarbon dating can tell us the age of organic materials like wood or linen. Chemical analysis can reveal the composition of metals and pigments used in paintings. We can even study ancient pollens, molds, and bacteria found inside the tombs. These microscopic clues can tell us about the environment inside the tomb and reveal the real dangers, not curses, but natural hazards that early excavators might have faced. In this essay, we will use these tools to test the claims of curses and traps. We will look at the excavation diaries of Howard Carter. We will study the health records of the people who worked on his team. We will examine the inscriptions and the architecture of several key tombs in the valley. We will compare the dramatic legends to the quiet, patient work of archaeology. The truth is not found in a sudden, frightening curse. It is pieced together bit by bit from the evidence left behind. This is the real adventure of archaeology and the true way to respect the legacy of the pharaohs. The idea of protecting a tomb is not a modern fantasy. The ancient Egyptians were deeply concerned with safeguarding their eternal resting places. They knew that tomb robbery was a serious problem even in their own time. The wealth buried with a pharaoh was immense, a tempting target for those who did not fear the gods or the king's justice. The primary defense was not magic, but secrecy and physical barriers. The Valley of the Kings was chosen for isolation. It was a remote, difficult-to-reach canyon, watched over by guards and by a dedicated police force, the Medjay. The design of the tombs served as protection. Long, sloping corridors led deep into the rock. Some passages were deliberately filled with rubble after the burial. Heavy stone sarcophagi, nested coffins, sealed doors, hidden chambers. These were not spring-loaded fictional traps. They were practical obstacles meant to slow and discourage thieves. The goal, make robbery so long and difficult thieves would give up or be caught. But what about written warnings? Did the Egyptians place curses on their tombs? In some private tombs from the Old Kingdom, in some private tombs from the Middle Kingdom. Long before the Valley of the Kings was established, we find protective inscriptions. These are not usually curses promising swift, magical death. Instead, they are legalistic warnings. They threaten divine judgment and earthly punishment against desecrators. An inscription might say, a crocodile will be against the violator in the water, a snake against him on the land. It was a threat of what the gods might do. These texts created a psychological barrier. They appealed to Egyptian beliefs and fears. They reminded potential robbers their actions had consequences in this life and the next. They would face the wrath of the gods and be denied a peaceful afterlife. These were not spells to kill intruders on the spot. They were solemn warnings about breaking a sacred trust. In New Kingdom royal tombs, even these direct warnings are extremely rare. The focus was religious texts to aid the king's journey in the afterlife. not on threatening mortals. The most famous curse story of all centers on a single powerful object, a clay tablet. It supposedly carried the dramatic inscription, "Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king." This is the curse that newspapers around the world reported. It became the centerpiece of the Tutankhamun curse myth. This single sentence seemed to provide concrete proof of a magical trap for anyone entering the boy king's tomb. It was a chilling and unforgettable warning. The problem is simple but profound. The tablet never existed. Read Howard Carter's meticulous excavation diaries. There is no mention of such an object. His records list thousands of items, grand golden shrines, the smallest beads. Every discovery was noted, numbered, described. An inscribed tablet like that would have been a major find. Carter would have documented it with extreme care. Yet there is no record, no photograph, no drawing, no catalogue number. It is absent from the official archaeological account. So, where did the story come from? Newspapers of the day invented it. Journalists wanted exciting angles. Archaeology was slow, careful, scientific. A dramatic curse sold papers. Reporters mixed rumours with imagination. Some point to novelist Marie Corelli, who claimed a similar text and warned of dire consequences before Lord Carnarvon's death. The press seized on it and created the legend. Myths often start with a small seed of truth or a complete fabrication. Then the media amplifies it. The public, eager for the supernatural, accepted it without question. The cursed tablet image became fact in popular imagination. People still ask where the tablet is in a museum. The truth, it never existed outside newspapers and mines. The most famous piece of evidence for the Pharaohs' curse is a ghost. The death of Lord Carnarvon on April 5, 1923, was the event that ignited the curse myth and turned it into a global phenomenon. George Herbert, the 5th Earl of Carnarvon, was the financial backer of Howard Carter's expedition. He was present when the tomb was opened and was a key figure in the discovery. Just a few months later, he died in Cairo. The official cause of death was blood poisoning resulting from an infected mosquito bite on his cheek that he had sliced open while shaving. For the press, this was not a tragic but understandable medical event. It was the fulfillment of the Pharaoh's curse. Newspapers immediately connected his death to the tomb's opening. Headlines screamed about the Pharaoh's revenge. Journalists pointed out that the mosquito bite was in the same spot on his cheek as a mark on Tutankhamun's death mask. This was a fabrication, but it made for a great story. They also reported that at the exact moment of Carnarvon's death, all the lights in Cairo went out. While there was a brief power outage, it was not an uncommon occurrence in the city at that time. Another story claimed that back in England, Carnarvon's favourite dog, Susie, howled and died at the same moment. This detail added a layer of supernatural drama to the event. The press created a chain of events that seemed to point directly to a supernatural cause. They ignored the more logical explanations. Lord Carnarvon was not in good health. He had suffered a serious car accident years earlier that left him with weakened lungs. A man in his late 50s, in a weakened state, travelling in the 1920s, was susceptible to infections that are easily treated today. The doctors at the time were clear about the cause of death being septicemia, but the public preferred the more exciting story. The curse was a simple, dramatic answer that required no understanding of medicine or the conditions of the era. This media frenzy set the pattern for how the curse myth would grow. After Carnarvon, any death of a person even remotely connected to the tomb was attributed to the curse. The list of victims grew to include people who had only visited the tomb once, or who had died from obvious natural causes years later. For example, Arthur Mace, a member of Carter's team, died in 1928, 5 years after the tomb was opened. His death from pleurisy was added to the list. The press created a narrative, and they fit every subsequent event into that narrative, regardless of the facts. The power of a good story proves stronger than the truth. The myths of the Valley of the Kings did not just spring from newspaper articles. They were also shaped and popularized by a long tradition of adventure fiction. Long before Howard Carter entered Tutankhamun's tomb, writers were using ancient Egypt as a setting for thrilling and mysterious tales. 19th-century authors like H. Rider Haggard and Arthur Conan Doyle wrote stories filled with resurrected mummies, ancient magic, lost tombs. These books captured the public's imagination. They created a fictional Egypt, a place of dark secrets and supernatural danger. One of the most influential works was a short story by Louisa May Alcott, published in 1869, Lost in a Pyramid, or The Mummy's Curse. It tells of an explorer who brings a mummy home, faces a series of terrible misfortunes, and suffers the revenge of a vengeful spirit. That vengeful mummy theme became a staple. By the time Tutankhamun's tomb was found, the public already knew the idea of a curse. The discovery played out like fiction, a lost tomb, fabulous treasure, a mysterious death. The press and public applied the fictional narrative to the real event. Fiction and reality blurred. People weren't just reporting a dig. They were living an adventure story, complete with a villain, the Pharaoh's vengeful spirit. The myths of the Valley of the Kings are not just entertaining, they are also, very good for business. Mystery sells tickets. The idea that a visit to a pharaoh's tomb is a brush with ancient magic and danger adds a layer of excitement to the tourist experience. Millions of people travel to Egypt every year, and for many, the allure of the curses and secrets of the pharaohs is a significant part of the attraction. This economic incentive helps to keep the legends alive. Papyrus scrolls with fake curse inscriptions, statues of menacing gods, T-shirts that joke about surviving the pharaoh's wrath. While this provides income for many people, it also encourages a shallow and often inaccurate understanding of our heritage. The tourism industry, therefore, walks a fine line. It is easier to captivate a tour group with a ghost story than with a lesson on New Kingdom funerary practices. The focus shifts from respect and learning to entertainment and thrills. The real people who were buried in these tombs, kings, queens, and workers, are forgotten, replaced by the caricature of the vengeful mummy. The economic benefits of tourism are vital for Egypt and for the preservation of its monuments, but we must be careful that the price of this success is not the trivialization of our own history. Section 1. The verdict of evidence. No curses, no traps. Throughout this journey into the Valley of the Kings, we have followed a single guiding principle. Evidence must come first. We began with the thrilling whispers of supernatural curses and deadly traps. We have held these stories up to the bright, unflinching light of archaeological and historical fact. When we do so, the legends crumble like ancient sun-baked mud brick. The verdict of the evidence is clear and irrefutable. There is not a single piece of credible proof to support the existence of a magical pharaonic curse. The stories are ghosts, born of rumor and repetition. The most famous curse, that of Tutankhamun, was a modern invention. The curse tablet that supposedly warned of swift death never existed. It is a phantom of sensationalist journalism. The tragic death of Lord Carnarvon was not the result of a pharaoh's magic. It was a common medical crisis in the 1920s, a mosquito bite leading to infection in a man already in fragile health. A sober look at the health records of Howard Carter's team reveals a normal mortality rate. The team's leader, Carter, lived for many years, a walking testament to the curse's non-existence. The legend was powerful, but the facts are more powerful still. Complex mechanical traps belong to Hollywood, not Egyptian history. Our case studies: KV-62, Tutankhamun; KV-46, Yuya and Thuya; KV-5, the sons of Ramesses II. These tombs show no evidence of such devices. The ancient Egyptians were brilliant engineers, but their protections were practical, not fantastical. They used secrecy, remote locations, rubble-filled corridors, heavy stone sarcophagi. Their greatest deterrents were earthly, necropolis guards, and the real punishment of being caught and executed for sacrilege. The true story is crime and punishment, not Indiana Jones-style adventure. Modern archaeology has systematically dismantled these myths. Stratigraphy reveals the true history of tomb robberies. Meticulous cataloguing records what was and wasn't found. Laboratory analysis of air samples and mummies shows real dangers, molds and disease. Radiocarbon dating provides a secure timeline. The combined power of these tools leaves no room for supernatural explanations. Science has solved the mystery and the verdict is in, the curses are a hoax. Section 2. A legacy of real risks and responsibilities. By exposing the myths of curses and traps, we are not left with a story that is less interesting. Instead, we uncover very real risks and profound ethical responsibilities. The first real risk is to the monuments themselves, as we saw in the case of KV7, the tomb of Rameses II. The greatest threat is not magic, but nature. Flash floods, salt crystallization, humidity from millions of tourists, the slow passage of time. These forces crack walls, fade paintings, and turn structures to dust. This is the real race against time. This brings us to our first great responsibility: conservation. The work of an archaeologist is not just to discover, but to preserve. Every tomb we open, every object we remove, we take on a sacred duty to protect it for all future generations. This is a difficult and expensive task. It requires highly trained conservators, advanced scientific equipment, and constant monitoring. The fight against salt and humidity is a daily battle, unglamorous but heroic work, long after the thrill of discovery has faded. The true curse is the slow, silent decay of our shared human heritage, and our responsibility is to fight it with every tool we have. Section 3. The true magic of the Valley of the Kings. In the end, by clearing away the fog of supernatural myth, we do not diminish the Valley of the Kings. We reveal its true magic. The magic is not found in a vengeful curse, but in the astonishing skill of the ancient artists who painted scenes of such vibrant life on the walls of a dark tomb. It is in the genius of the architects who carved a perfect palace for eternity deep into a mountain of solid rock, using only simple tools. It is in the profound depth of a religious belief that saw death not as an end, but as a glorious journey toward rebirth with the rising sun. This is the magic of human creativity, intellect, and spirit. The magic is also in the thrill of discovery, not of gold, but of knowledge. It is the moment an archaeologist's brush reveals an inscription not seen by human eyes for 3,000 years. It is the moment a CT scan reveals the face of a pharaoh or the cause of his death. It is the moment we piece together fragments of pottery and linen to understand the lives of the ordinary workers who built these magnificent tombs. This is the adventure of science. It is a patient, careful process that allows us to travel back in time and listen to the silent stones, to learn their secrets, and to tell their stories truthfully and with respect. The true magic of the valley lies in its power to connect us to our shared human past. When you stand inside the tomb of a pharaoh, you are standing in a place of deep meaning, a place where people grappled with the same fundamental questions we face today. What is the meaning of life? What happens after we die? How do we achieve immortality? The answers they created, written in stunning art and complex theology, are a priceless part of our global heritage. The valley is a library of the human soul. It reminds us that for all our modern technology, we are connected to those who came before us by a common thread of humanity. Therefore, I ask you to forget the childish stories of curses and traps. Look instead for the real wonder. See the Valley of the Kings, not as a place of fear, but as a testament to the incredible achievements of our ancestors. See it as an open book of history, a masterpiece of art, and a sacred ground that still speaks to us across the millennia. This is the legacy I have spent my life working to protect. It is a legacy of science, history, and profound beauty. This is the true, enduring magic of the Valley of the Kings, and it is far more powerful and inspiring than any fictional curse.